Students are getting ready to return back to school for in-person learning. It's the first time they will be back in a classroom since the spring. But as COVID-19 cases in the province of Ontario continue to rise, there are many concerns. Ottawa-Centre member of provincial parliament Joel Harden says the Ford Conservative government should have done more to prepare. We've been living in a pandemic world for over a year and a half, and much has changed.
As we said last summer, there should be a better plan, except last summer, again, the government, the Ministry of Education, left this to the very last moment and asked school boards to muddle through. And that's where we got the quadmester system, which was the best attempt by school boards to try to make something work. But what it meant for high school students, if you follow people who've been through that experience, if you know people who've been through that experience, it's pretty intense. And we're talking 4 to 8 straight hours of the same thing every week through a computer. It's really hard to stay motivated. And people are terrified that if we don't have a real significant, robust plan for September, we may default back to that. And, the boards have said they don't want to. Staff have said they don't want to. Certainly students I've talked to have said they don't want to. With some exceptions, I think students that have significant social anxiety have told me they kind of prefer the home learning, but will also tell me they don't really like the quadmester format, that they could handle more home learning. That's fine. We already had that option.
Harden says he believes the government is trying to take resources away from schools, creating more commercialization in education. He believes they want to keep the COVID era of online learning going even after it doesn't have to. The Ontario government, however, says they have worked hard to ensure everyone's safety come September and have implemented a number of health and safety measures in schools. Ventilation systems have been improved and masks will be required for all students from grades 1 to 12. But new this year, shared spaces will be allowed and extracurricular activities are making a comeback. Some school boards, however, feel the government's measures don't go far enough and will be adding their own. COVID-19 vaccinations will be required for all education workers. However, those who don't comply, they will need to receive regular COVID testing. Eligible students won't need to receive the jab, a decision many parents are against, considering proof of other vaccinations are required. The NDP said a few weeks ago that they believe COVID-19 vaccination shouldn't be mandatory in schools, but have since backtracked their statement. Harden says while we can't go against human rights, better vaccination rules and monitoring needs to be in place.
I believe we need a mix of a mandatory vaccination strategy, very prompt testing for people who can't follow a mandatory vaccination strategy for health reasons, for medical reasons, or religious reasons, whatever those reasons may be, which there's case law already on this, on other mandatory vaccinations. So where people can't, for reasons that are proven under law, under human rights codes and other health policy law, there should be rapid testing for those folks to complement a mandatory vaccination strategy.
Students are getting ready to head back to class at a time COVID-19 numbers in the province are growing. On August 28, Ontario reported 835 new cases of the virus, the highest daily case count reported since early June. The government reiterates that in-person learning will go ahead for the fall, but many parents aren't convinced. Even if they do return to class in September, they believe it will be short-lived as a fourth wave of the virus picks up pace this fall. Harden says he hopes students won't need to switch to online learning again and says he has trust in the education workers to ensure everyone stays safe.
I think we're still in a place where schools can reopen. And if I have faith in any one thing, Charlie, it's not the government of Ontario right now, but it's the people who work in and administer our schools. I have faith in those folks. I know that they care about our kids. But if you look, I may have a different answer for your question if cases quadruple by next week, right? And you will be able to hear, if you put your ear out your door, the hearts of parents breaking across our city because people are exhausted, managing work and kids in the home. Kids are free. They would be absolutely flummoxed if they had to miss out on in-person learning this fall. It's why, despite it being the dog days of summer, or the Doug days of summer, however you want to put it, we have been trying as the opposition to hold the government to account on this now, as opposed to like Labor Day weekend, because this is urgent. And I really believe that, what I'm seeing right now leads me to believe we can open up the schools, but boy, I wish they had more resources, more certainty.
Now, with only a week left of summer vacation, parents in Ottawa will be watching COVID-19 case counts very closely. Now, all of the school boards here in Ottawa have released their back-to-school plans, which really mirror what we saw last year. Despite being allowed, many say they will not be holding large assemblies because they don't want to have different classes mixing together, and organized sports teams are also out of the question. Charlie Sinach, UIN News, Ottawa.